How many kills do you think I'll get with this tiny little Nerf pistol? Comment your guess down below for the YouTube algorithm.
What the hell is that?
Well, that was more kills than I was expecting. Now, on with the video.
What's up, Nerfers, and welcome back to my channel, where I test even tiny little blasters like this one outdoors in real-world conditions to bring you the results that I want to know. This is called the Hamster. It's an ultra-compact, pocket-sized Nerf blaster, perfect for terrorizing your nieces and nephews at family gatherings or even for stealthy office warfare. It would also make the perfect last resort backup blaster for out on the field. These were sent to me thanks to Phantom Toys here in Australia, who sell them for 20 kangaroos a piece. That is a lot cheaper than we have to pay for a Dart Zone Max Solo here at 55 kangaroos, which I think makes it a much more compelling option.
Phantom Toys sent me 3 different colours of these, a purple one, a white one, and one they even painted clear. The clear one I've actually had to go at upgrading, so let's begin today's video with a quick, abridged mod guide. The Hamster has 2 pins at the bottom which you'll need to remove first. Push them in from the other side to what I did here, because those pins actually have retention grooves on the left side. With the pins out, the rest of the blaster is solvent welded closed all around the edges. You can get it started with a blade in the top right corner, then use a pry tool starting from there to split the rest of it open without any risk of cutting anything important like the plunger tube. The plunger O-ring could definitely use an upgrade. I didn't have anything in the right size, so I kept it as is. Ideally, you would want something slightly larger but not too large that it adds a lot of friction. You'll also want to lube this baby up because that plunger tube was pretty dry out of the box. The included barrel has a loose inner diameter and smaller than usual 15mm outer diameter, which complicates upgrading it a bit. I chose to keep the same length but swap in a tighter fitting brass barrel, which should give a velocity boost to the darts without having to extend the length. I used electrical tape to step it up to the required 15mm diameter and then superglued it in. You could optionally make the barrel longer if you want and you would gain a little bit of power for that, but I think that kind of defeats the purpose of it being a pocket-sized blaster. After gluing in the barrel, I then glued the 90-degree turn into the top of the plunger tube because air was also escaping past that O-ring. For a final upgrade, I noticed that when you pull down the plunger, it moves 4mm back up again to where it catches, meaning it could use a 4mm spring spacer for a tiny bit more power. Using the discarded stock barrel, I cut a 4mm spacer out of it, popped the pin out of the top of the plunger head, and simply slid it onto the plunger rod so that the spring now gets full compression. I then put everything back together, put the pins in, and superglued the edges of the shell back together where it was solvent welded. Pretty simple stuff, but if you have any questions at all, feel free to ask me down below. The Hamster has a pretty clean and simple design. There's a stylistic front side of the top and a large trigger guard that squares out the shape of the blaster, which also helps prevent it from getting caught on the inside of your pocket when you draw it out and potentially hit that trigger. My fiance and I were playing with these around the house and she discovered a pinch point at the bottom with her support hand. Just something to be aware of when you pull the trigger, especially with the power this thing is putting out. It actually hurt my finger filming this recreation. Aside from that, the blaster itself is very kid-friendly to operate. Simply push in a dart, pull down the plunger, aim, and pull the trigger. It doesn't get simpler than that. It's basically a Nerf Jolt leveled up to 100. There's 2 ways you could opt to load a dart, and that's going to depend entirely on personal preference. First, you could just push one in by hand, resulting in very little barrel length actually utilized and a lower muzzle velocity. The other way is much slower to load, but if you ram your dart all the way deep inside with a rod of some kind, you should gain some power to your shots. The plastic narrows down at the rear end of the barrel, preventing you from ever accidentally pushing it in too far, so you don't have to worry about that. Is the slower loading worth the potential gain in power? Well, why don't we find out? For the velocity test, I'll compare both styles of loading with the stock Hamster, then I'll try the same again with my modded one.
Okay, for all the testing today, I'm going to be using worker bamboo darts provided by Foamwork Adelaide here in Australia. I'll start off with one of the stock blasters and just quickly feeding them in the front of the muzzle. Let's see how it does. 82. 83, 90, 85, 86, 82, 92, 87, 85, and 85. Okay, now with the same blaster again, this time I'm going to be pushing the darts with my screwdriver all the way down into the back of the barrel to see how much FPS we gain from doing that. 88, 81, 88, 91, 88, 102. Wow, we cleared 100 FPS. 90, 90, and the last dart, 77, okay.
The stock hamster averaged 85 feet per second with fast loading and 88 feet per second with slow loading. So there was only a gain of 3 feet per second for all that extra time it took to load. So not worth it in my opinion. But how about my modded one, which uses a tighter fitting brass barrel and probably has a better seal? Here's the fast loading first.
Okay, first I'll just start off with the fast loading in the front of the barrel. 90, 94, 100, 102, 101, 103, 101, 99, error, I'll do another one at the end, 97, I don't think it likes things that shoot this low in velocity. 103. All right, one more thing to do, right? This boy, but we're pushing the darts all the way to the back. I got a bit curious and already shot it. But I'm gonna now push these all the way to the back of the barrel using my screwdriver. Here goes. 115. 117. 116. 111. 119. I think that's the highest one so far. What? 135. I think that must have been perfect conditions, perfect loading, everything. 117. 110. 109. I got one more shot. 109.
My modded hamster with fast loading averaged 99 feet per second, while slow loading it averaged 115 feet per second. That's a gain of 16 feet per second, which you could actually make an argument that it's worth it. Personally, I'd keep it loaded with a slow load, and if you need to reload it during the heat of combat, I'd use a fast load then. Let me know what you would do down below. As a final note on velocity, before I move on to the accuracy test, my modded one slow loaded has an impressive 27 feet per second gain over the stock one slow loaded. So that tighter dart fitment of the brass combined with my air seal improvements and the spring spacer definitely seem to have made a difference. And that's all while keeping the upgrade barrel the same length as the stock one. Now, before I filmed the accuracy test, what I needed to do was figure out how far these can actually shoot. So I shot my modded one next to a stock one. The modded one went 28 meters while the stock one went about 25. So today I've brought my accuracy test forward a bit from the usual 30 meters to 20. Also, to even get it to reach the target from 20 meters away, I'm aiming halfway up the tree towards the Y-fork.
So giving probably the most holdover I've ever done in a video. Let's see how this does. Oh, there we go. I found this, this stick on the ground. I'm going to decide to load them all to the back of the barrel. Oh, that wasn't too bad. Realistically, what you have to remember though, is you're pretty much never going to be using it from this far away. As a last resort backup blaster, you'll be pulling this out pretty much point blank ranges on people. And for family gatherings, playing against kids who have, you know, stock recons or whatever Nerf actually makes these days, you're going to be outranging them with this thing because it shoots around 100 FPS. And stock Nerf only shoots around 60, doesn't it? Yeah, I think I'm going to call it there. Not a bad blaster. Obviously no way to add any rifling because how will you load the darts then? Let's take it back inside and wrap things up.
From a distance of 20 meters, aiming halfway up the tree, it shot about a 1 meter spread. Not bad at all for a pocket-sized Nerf pistol, especially considering you'll be pretty much always using it closer up than that. Overall, I really like the design of the hamster. Despite it shooting about 1/3 the power of what you're used to seeing on my YouTube channel, I do fully intend to keep all 3 of these to use around the house with family and friends when they bring their kids for a visit. Though naturally, I'll be using the modded one myself. One thing I did forget to mention is that these can also shoot your standard full-length Nerf darts that your kids probably already have. I personally haven't owned any full-lengths in years at this point, and that's because half-lengths are just flat out better for competitive play. But the hamster can shoot standard darts and even 50 cal balls if those are considerations for you. Its slim profile makes it the perfect shape for pocket carry if you want to be the John Wick of your office Nerf wars, and its ability to fit into those pockets, pouches, or even hang off lanyards with those Wii Remote style holes on the front, that all adds up to make it the perfect backup blaster for actual Nerf events as well. I remember back in the day we used to mod Nerf triads and even Nerf Mega Big Shocks to fill a similar role. Now you can just buy a hamster for 20 kangaroos and have something with a slimmer profile and the same power. Find it here in Australia at Phantom Toys or from Out of Darts in the USA. I'll put links to both of those sellers down below.
What the hell is that?
That's all I have for you today. Like, comment, subscribe, and all of that. Here's 2 other videos you might enjoy. And as always, thank you very much for watching. See ya!